We just got to see one of the best World Series ever, a series that went back and forth and lasted a full 7 games. Featured an historic Game 3 that went on for 18 innings and ended with a walk-off home run. Shohei Ohtani got on base a record 9 times in that one. Clayton Kershaw made the final appearance of his Hall of Fame career. A wild start to Game 5, a wild ending to Game 6, and an 11-inning Game 7. Blue Jays were 2 outs away from their first World Series title in 32 years. But instead, the Dodgers became the first back-to-back champions in 25 years, led by World Series MVP Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who came out in relief to win Game 7 on no rest at all. The reaction from everyone has been pretty positive, but 2 things we've been hearing a lot in the last few days. 1, the Dodgers are ruining baseball, something we've been hearing quite a bit the last couple years. And 2, the Dodgers are saving baseball. They can't both be true, but is either one of them true? Let's see. First off, if the Dodgers are in fact ruining baseball, then we have yet to see the effects of it. Must be a long-term plan because in the 2 seasons that the Dodgers won the World Series, the ratings have been fantastic. Of course, everyone knew that last year's World Series would have great ratings because it included the country's 2 largest markets. This year, just the 2nd largest market, and a team that's not even in the U.S. Remember that this is just the ratings in the U.S., and there was only 1 U.S. team. This is from Fox Sports. Game 7 this year was the most watched World Series game since 2017. Average viewership was over 25 million, peak viewership at over 31 million. The series as a whole averaged 15.7 million viewers, the highest number of viewers since 2017, though the rating is down a little from last year. And the postseason as a whole was the most watched for Fox Sports since 2017. From the Toronto Sun, in Canada, 10.9 million on average watched Game 7, with a peak of 14 million. The series altogether averaged 7.5 million. In a country of about 42 million, that means about 1 out of 6 Canadians watched the World Series on average. A quarter of the population watched Game 7, and a peak of around 1/3 of all Canadians were watching the World Series Game 7 at its highest point. In the US, Canada, and Japan combined, Game 7 ratings reached a 34-year high of over 51 million viewers. Last time the World Series saw that number was the 1991 series between the Twins and Braves, which also went 7 games. And it could have been higher in Japan. Game 7 was broadcast on BS1, a cable channel that not everyone has. And once again, the World Series crushed the NBA Finals. Both series went a full 7 games, but the World Series Game 7 had 25.9 million viewers. NBA Finals Game 7 only 16.4 million. NBA Finals Game 7 peaked at 19 million, far below the World Series peak of 31 million. The 7 games of the NBA Finals altogether averaged 10.2 million. So by all 3 measurements, the World Series had 50% more viewers than the NBA Finals. NBA fans are quick to point out that this year's NBA Finals included 2 smaller cities, Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, while the World Series had 2 very large markets. But you can't count Toronto because the World Series ratings were 50% higher in the US alone. It doesn't include Canada's ratings. If you combine the ratings from both countries, then the World Series doubles the NBA Finals ratings. Still, you've got to concede that LA is bigger than Oklahoma City and Indianapolis combined, so that's an advantage for the World Series. But in 2024, the NBA Finals had Boston and Dallas, and their ratings didn't come close to the World Series ratings in either 2024 or 2025. So, at least as far as the championship series for these 2 professional leagues, MLB is winning, and winning big. If the time ever comes when the Dodgers win 130 games in the regular season, sweep every series in the postseason, including the World Series, and then on top of that sign all the best free agents the following offseason, then you can sign me up for the Dodgers are ruining baseball chorus. But it seems like everyone's forgetting that the Dodgers were 3rd in the National League this year. They had to play in the wild card series. They were 0-6 versus the Milwaukee Brewers in the regular season. For most of the season, they did not look like the very best team in MLB. Now, we knew there was a good chance that would all change in the postseason. No team was more battle-tested than the Dodgers. No team had a more dangerous weapon than Shohei Ohtani. And not surprisingly, they swept the Reds to open the postseason. But I was a bit worried when they had very little trouble with the Phillies, then no trouble with the Brewers beyond Game 1. Most people didn't want to see that continue in the World Series. If the Dodgers had won every game after Game 1, or worse, won every game from the start and swept the series, ratings would have been lower toward the end of the series. A ratings disaster? No, but nothing like what we saw with the Blue Jays pushing it to 7 games. So a Dodgers team that's too dominant could be bad for baseball, But that's not what we're seeing, not yet anyway. If anyone is saying that the Dodgers are too good and they're making it pointless to even watch, they probably didn't start watching till the postseason began. So, when you Dodgers fans say your team is not ruining baseball, I agree. The Dodgers are not ruining baseball. But the counter argument coming from Dodgers fans is that the Dodgers are actually saving baseball. Okay, that would imply that when the Dodgers are winning, baseball is winning. The Dodgers have won the NL West 12 of the last 13 years, going back to 2013. The 2010s was a terrible decade for Major League Baseball. Attendance and ratings dropped almost annually. That time included 2 Dodgers World Series appearances in 2017 and 2018. Some will point out that this year's U.S. ratings were the highest since 2017, and guess who was in the World Series that year? That's right, the Dodgers. World Series ratings have been falling for a long time. These are World Series TV ratings from 1984 to 2018. Some years it spiked, but it was always trending downward. On the right there, you see it hit a 12-year high with that 2016 Cubs-Indians World Series. That was followed by drops in the ratings in 2017 and 2018. That 2018 World Series had the Dodgers and Red Sox. But because it was a 4-game sweep, it was the 4th lowest rated World Series ever at that point in time. So the 2017 World Series is not the gold standard of TV ratings. It's like slowly falling down a mountain for 40 years and then hitting the bottom. Now you're a quarter of the way back to the top, the same place you were 8 years ago when you were falling down. You don't look back fondly at that time you were falling, and that's not how 2017 should be viewed. But when people argue that the Dodgers are saving baseball, they're mostly talking about the present Dodgers, after they acquired Ohtani and Yamamoto, and they joined Betts, Freeman, and others, the team that won the last 2 World Series. That would imply that MLB's surge in popularity began in 2024. Well, the surge at the gate started in 2023, when Ohtani was with the Angels and Yamamoto was still in Japan. Attendance hit a 6-year high with 26 out of 30 MLB teams seeing an increase in ticket sales. Many reasons for that, but it was mostly due to the rule changes and schedule changes implemented in time for the 2023 season. The Dodgers cannot take credit for this. As for ratings in 2023, flat. A little up, but not a significant rise. And it ended with the Rangers-Diamondbacks World Series that ended in 5 games and suffered the lowest ratings ever for a World Series. It was an undesirable matchup. The D-backs don't have a very large fan base, though baseball in Arizona is starting to catch on now. But the status of Major League Baseball in 2023 should not be judged by World Series ratings alone. It had a good year, just not a good ending. In 2024 and 2025, attendance rose slightly in both years. Regular season and postseason TV ratings went up a good amount in 2024 and then a lot in 2025. Throughout the league, more people are watching Braves and Marlins or Rockies and Padres, and it has nothing to do with the Dodgers. Those saying that people either root for the Dodgers or hate watch the Dodgers need to look at the regular season ratings. Postseason too, I don't think the Dodgers' success had anything to do with high ratings for the Mariners-Tigers division series. As for Canada's ratings, the Dodgers had nothing to do with it. That was all Blue Jays. Their first World Series in 32 years was going to score big ratings anyway. Then the way they played, pushing the series to 7 games, that's why the ratings were so good there. And I think we all agree on that. As for Japan, the Dodgers do deserve some credit. Japan is not full of Dodgers fans like some people think. Most Japanese baseball fans watch MLB for the players. They're rooting for Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki, not the Dodgers. Their favorite teams are in NPB, their favorite players are in MLB. A few years ago in Japan, we saw lots of Angels caps and Angels jerseys. The Angels were on TV every morning. But the people weren't Angels fans, they were Ohtani fans. The difference now is that Ohtani is playing in the World Series, something that wasn't going to happen when he was playing for the Angels, and something that never happened for Ichiro. And that's where you've got to give credit to the Dodgers. They've given Japanese fans the chance to see their country's biggest star play on the biggest stage in Major League Baseball. That is why Japanese TVs are tuned into the World Series like never before, way more than ever before. Not that baseball was ever dying in Japan, though. It's been the #1 sport there since forever. NPB has had higher average attendance than MLB for about a decade now. It's just that now they're also taking an interest in Major League Baseball, and especially the World Series. When people say that baseball was on the decline and needed to be saved, they were really just talking about Major League Baseball. It's been doing just fine in East Asia and Latin America. Mexico saw a big rebound in baseball excitement there, and that was before the rebound in the US. The World Baseball Classic deserves a lot of credit for that. The bigger the WBC gets, the bigger baseball outside of the US gets. Baseball was doing just fine around the world. MLB was the only baseball league seen as on the decline. And what lifted MLB from its decline? The rule changes, the schedule changes. 60 home runs is the thing now, once again. More marketable star players. Also, the NBA hasn't been doing so well lately. I don't keep up with the NBA, but all I know is a lot of NBA fans are unhappy. Could be that NBA's loss is MLB's gain in the spring when the seasons overlap. NASCAR too. Hard to believe, but 15, 20 years ago, NASCAR was a serious competitor in the summer months for Major League Baseball. NASCAR fans are really unhappy, and much smaller in number than they used to be. And I think I'll end it there. The Dodgers are not ruining baseball. They could have a negative effect in the future, but right now that's not happening. They're not saving baseball either. Baseball is doing better these days, and the Dodgers have contributed to that, but they're not the saviors of a dying game that some people think they are. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya!